This is your Daily Detroit, recorded on Monday, February 18th, 2019. I'm Jer Stays.
And I'm Sven Gustafson from Detroit's snowy University District. I'm on day 2 of belated birthday dinners, Jer, and I am absolutely fearing the massive feast that awaits because, I gotta tell you, last night I barely slept because I had too much rich food and wine in my belly.
I feel like you won the weekend, my man.
Oh, anyway, yeah. Well, let's get into this show, shall we? Right after this word from our sponsor.
Daily Detroit is brought to you in part by Bamboo Detroit. With an inclusive community, flexible modern offices, classes, and networking events, Bamboo Detroit helps entrepreneurs and innovative companies launch, land, or expand in Detroit. Become one of more than 400 members today at bamboodetroit.com.
Electric vehicle startup Rivian made it official on Friday, saying that online giant Amazon is investing $700 million in the company. That followed a report earlier in the week that Amazon and General Motors were both mulling investments that would give them minority ownership stakes and value Rivian as high as $2 billion. We talked all about this on an episode last week. Amazon reportedly led the investment with some participation from existing shareholders. Negotiations with GM over a possible investment are reportedly continuing. In a statement, Rivian CEO and founder RJ Scaringe said the investment was an important milestone for the company. Quote, beyond simply eliminating compromises that exist around performance, capability, and efficiency, we are working to drive innovation across the entire customer experience, he said. He continues, delivering on this vision requires the right partners, and we are excited to have Amazon with us on our journey to create products, technology, and experiences that reset expectations of what is possible, end quote. Jer, you opined all about this in the essay on top of the most recent Daily Detroit email newsletter. I encourage everyone to go sign up for that on dailydetroit.com. But Jer, take us through that a little bit. What are you thinking?
You know, there are a few things that I think we need to watch for with this deal on a long-term basis. Is it going to change all tomorrow? Is it all going to change in 6 months? No. But I want to point out, and you've talked about this before, Sven, is trucks are the Detroit 3's cash cows. Like, trucks are where it's at, whether it's the Jeep SUV or it's the Dodge Ram or the Ford F-150 or the GM, Silverado, you name it. Trucks are where it's at for the big three. And that's where all of their profits are coming from. You think about those profit sharing checks. It's really interesting to see that Amazon is taking an aim kind of straight at that market, because that's what Rivian builds, is SUVs and trucks. And they have a really interesting skateboard platform. And that's something we've talked about when we were out in Plymouth, right? Was that they basically have this platform that you can put whatever you want on the top of it. Right.
It's flexible. You could build. I mean, the thought is that Amazon may be interested in using the platform more so than the actual truck itself, but the platforms to build, say cargo vans, something like the Ford Transit van or whatever. And that would be in line with what we're seeing, fleet operators, especially in Europe, you're seeing it, are buying up electric cargo vans to try to lower their footprints. And they're doing it in response to strict new laws in European cities against greenhouse gas emissions and everything. But you're starting to see it in the United States as well. I mean, Tesla's coming out with, its battery powered semi truck, like a rig, and there have been a whole bunch of pre-orders from companies like Walmart and Pepsi and Anheuser-Busch. So you're starting to see these big fleet operators moving in on this space.
And I see what you're saying, but I'm going to raise you one, especially because Amazon has a history of taking technology that they develop for themselves and then turning around and selling it to consumers. To me, it would be completely within Amazon's DNA to take this and then turn around and get into the car business. I don't see why not. If they have part of a car maker, if they have a platform, if you look at Amazon Web Services, if you look at all the things they've done over the years, that's exactly what Amazon does. They figure something out for themselves. You think about shipping, right? They're actually offering to their own shippers as much as half off shipping if they use the Amazon shipping and delivery services. Even around here, if they show up with a plain white van, that's Amazon sending packages directly to folks. And that's really interesting. I think people don't realize how quickly Amazon will creep into every industry. Amazon has a different way of doing business too, especially than the Detroit 3. I mean, now that we visited Rivian, I visited Amazon facilities recently here in the metro area. I visited Ford, GM, FCA. It is clear to me that there is like a different culture around it. I can't really put my finger on it, but it's just a feeling of like how people operate and work together and sharing duties. And there's this freshness of design to Rivian's cars and trucks that I should just say vehicles, to Rivian's vehicles that's really nice. It's almost something like it was designed with, we know what a car should be or a truck should be, but we're not going to let the predispositions of before, like, oh, we have to use this dash set or we have to carry over this technology. It feels very thoughtful, and it's kind of like the iPhone of trucks. And as a Detroit 3 booster, like that kind of scares me a little bit, to be honest.
And that's a good point. I think one thing that is easy to forget, I mean, I get excited about Rivian and think that they have a lot of potential and everything, but it always comes back to me that like, oh yeah, we're talking about trucks that are either up there in price. I mean, these are going to be upscale vehicles, starting, $60,000, $70,000 and going higher for now. I mean, many years down the line, if they get that far, who knows? Maybe they come down and introduce some more kind of mass market, target models and everything. But for now, I mean, when these things come out, assuming they get that far, I can't afford them.
Well, nor could I. But here's another thing to think about real quick, though. Doesn't Amazon often operate at a loss? How many years did Amazon itself
That's true.
operate with almost no margin?
Yep.
Yet the big three have Wall Street basically on their heels for margin on these trucks. What if Amazon moved in and erased the margin and just sold them at cost just to grab market share? That's something to think about. I know it's kind of crazy. I fully admit that. But if you look at what Amazon does, I don't think it's out of the question.
Yeah. Anyway, it's definitely exciting times for Rivian.
The city of Detroit is hiring 50 people with valid commercial driver's licenses for park maintenance. Starting pay is $14.71 an hour, and this Friday morning, the city will host a pair of hiring information sessions at 8221 West Davison. The first one is at 9 a.m. and the other 10:30 a.m. If you have a valid Class A or Class B CDL permit with an air brake endorsement, you might be offered a job right on the spot. The jobs start in March and April of this year and are seasonal through October. However, the city says it may convert some of those into full-time jobs for winter road maintenance. We'll have a link in the show notes if you're interested, and you can call them at 313-224-4419. That's 313-224-4419.
You had me at air brake endorsement.
No way. What is this, hockey night in Canada or hockey night in Russia?
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's part of the new trailer for The Russian Five, the documentary about the famed Detroit Red Wings stars that's set to open in theaters next month all across Michigan. The documentary traces the team's efforts under former owner Mike Ilitch and head coach Scotty Bowman to reverse its fortunes by sourcing talent from the former Soviet Union starting in the late 80s. The Russian Five, Vladimir Konstantinov, Sergei Fedorov, Igor Larionov, Slava Fetisov, and Vyacheslav Kozlov, would go on to form a dynasty and earn back-to-back Stanley Cup championships for Detroit in 1997 and 98. The documentary opens March 22nd in select theaters. We'll have a link for more information in the show notes.
Points, Sven, for nailing all those names.
That was pretty impressive. Huh? Been a while since I've had to pronounce any of them, frankly.
The Motor City Comic Con this May just got a bit of star power. Or would it be Star Trek power? George Takei is coming to the convention at the Suburban Collection Showplace on Saturday, May 18th and Sunday, May 19th. He's sure to be a big draw, and photo ops and autograph prices will reflect that. Autographs will start at $80 and photos at $100. That's over and above the Comic-Con admission price. Although he's been acting in one way or another for more than 60 years, Takei is best known for playing Hikaru Sulu in the original Star Trek TV show. Other names from pop culture that are getting a premium billing are Rainn Wilson from The Office, Charlie Hunnam from Sons of Anarchy, and pro wrestling legend Shawn Michaels. You can get more information and tickets over at the Motor City Comic Con website. We'll have a link in the show notes.
The team behind popular bars and restaurants like the Peterborough, Wright & Company, and Honest John's is targeting a new Korean bar and sushi counter concept in southwest Detroit. The Detroit Optimist Society plans to convert a vacant building on Michigan Avenue near 29th Street for a 2-story dual concept in 2020. It would feature a bar with Korean bowls and raw seafood, with a chef's choice sushi bar in a reservation-only 16-seat space. The restaurant group is currently developing a new restaurant called Gratiot Avenue Provisions in Eastern Market and a Corktown pizzeria called Grandma Bob's. Both are set to open this year.
Today's episode is brought to you in part by Milo Digital. Milo Digital is a full-service digital marketing agency that engineers quality results through data and innovative strategies. Learn more at milodetroit.com. OpenTable has their list out of the top restaurants in Southeast Michigan for the month of February. These are picked by diners on their platform, not critics.
We figured the Diners' Choice Awards would be interesting to talk about, as there's a lot of restaurants that are off the beaten path for a lot of reviewers that popped up, as well as a couple favorites. Some of the places have something like 1,000 reviews on their platform, so they're clearly popular.
So we're going to run through this list and talk about it a little bit. And kicking it off, I got to say, those fancy chain restaurants seem to be a thing around here.
Indeed, they do.
Number 10 would be Eddie V's in Troy. That's a chain with 24 locations around the country, and it's focused on seafood. Sven, I've eaten there. It was good. It was pricey, but it was good. West Coast vibe for sure. Very like aqua, art deco kind of thing. That thing's right off of Big Beaver.
Interesting. All right. Number 9, Fleming's Steakhouse in Livonia. Can't say too much about that personally. Never been.
Nope. It has the neighborhood of 70 locations around the country. And of course, obviously, that's another chain.
Number 8, Cantoro Market and Trattoria in Plymouth.
That one is actually based in Michigan and has a second location in Livonia. I'm pretty big on the wine and cheese. Number 7, the Silver Pig, and that's up in downtown Howell. They do craft cocktails, pizza, and oysters. Interesting note here, the Michigan group that owns them also has other places in Howell and Royal Oak, including the upcoming Pinky's Rooftop.
This one in number 6 is actually up in Flint, Lula's Louisiana Cookhouse. Sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. I looked at their menu. I'm sad they don't have muffaletta, but I'll tell you, I'm always down for a good po' boy, and there are not enough places that do good Louisiana food around here.
No, absolutely not. I could totally go for a po' boy sandwich just about anytime, frankly. Number 5, going out to Ann Arbor for this one, Isalita. It builds itself as street Mexican food. I've actually been here once. I was with a group of friends, and I mean, long story, but I actually kind of ate before I joined them, so I didn't eat a lot there. It was good. I remember we got like a plantain appetizer. I felt it was a little fussed over. I felt like, fried plantains, sweet plantains are good and don't need a lot of embellishment, and felt these were maybe a little over embellished, but
You know who has good plantains?
Who's that?
Our friend Godwin over at Yum Village.
Oh, I can't wait to try them.
Yeah, and we're going to have Godwin on the show very soon to talk all about his stuff. Looking forward to that. Birmingham's Tallulah rolls in at number 4 on this open table list, and that's a farm to table joint, so good clean eating.
Yeah, I've actually been there, although I was with a friend of mine who is a winemaker out in California who was in town doing a wine tasting. I tagged along with him and his kind of wine rep, so we got the silver, spoon treatment, so to speak. The chef did an off the menu thing. It was a very indulgent night, needless to say, but very good.
Yeah, staying up in Birmingham, number 3 is Phoenicia.
That's a longtime Lebanese restaurant on Old Woodward. Been around for decades and very highly regarded. I regret to say I've never been there, though.
I feel like we need to add that to the list, Sven.
That's a long list for sure. Number 2 is one we definitely, I think, can all get behind, Mabel Gray.
Yeah, definitely. We're in more familiar territory. That's up in Hazel Park, if you don't know, but you should know because chefs there, it's all amazing.
It's so good. Yeah. And the food is fantastic. The menu changes day to day, basically, based on what's available from his local purveyors. Shout to my friend Paul Fradnick behind the bar. He runs a great bar program there and mixes definitely a good cocktail there.
So this number 1, I am kind of blown away. I'm not familiar with it.
I've never even heard of it.
I'm going to make an effort to go out there. And the reason why I'm blown away, here's the deal. When I look at the reviews on places like Yelp and other folks, some people are claiming that it's better than Cipino. And
Calling me skeptical, but I'll try it.
For sure. It's called Pizza Nostalgia. And that's out in Washington Township, of all places, the far reaches of Macomb County. I think we're in for a road trip. I had a great pizza over the weekend at Motor City Brew Works. They're Mediterranean oven fired. So I'm into oven fired pizza, and Pizza Nostalgia does oven fired. People are comparing it to Cipino. I feel like that's a very high bar to compare it to. So
For sure. Supino Pizza makes fantastic pizza. Another place that makes kind of similar Neapolitan or New York style slices. You know how much I love New York pizza. Tomatoes a Pizza out in Farmington Hills. I got to give a shout to that place too.
for sure. One thing I noted that was on this list that I find was interesting, not a single place was in the city of Detroit.
Yeah, that is interesting given the restaurant boom that's, taken place there. I guess, in a way, this just sort of is a reflection that most people, frankly, still live out in the suburbs. And so they're dining probably, closer to home.
If you're opening up a place that brings people in, it seems like all those folks that go, you scroll up farther in the list and you think about, Fleming's or Eddie V's or whatever, they're already spending that kind of money. If you can convince them to come downtown, that's even more diners.
Maybe OpenTable's just not popular among the millennial Detroit dining set. Think?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know what? dailydetroit@gmail.com. Write us in. Do you use the OpenTable? What do you think of them? Give us the feedback. All right, before we let you go, there's a short drone video of the Fisher Building that's just cool. So I used to live in Midtown, used to be able to see the Fisher Building from my front porch. Just a beautiful sight to be able to, every morning or night when you come home, look out and be like, oh, there's this beautiful piece of art. I love the Fisher Building.
Gorgeous building, yep.
So there is a very cool short drone video. We've got it up on the Daily Detroit Facebook page. It's shared from the Fisher Building page. We'll also have a link in the show notes. Check it out.
And with that, friends, I'm Sven Gustafson. Thanks so much for listening. Remember, you can be part of our show by becoming a Patreon member. Join us at patreon.com/dailydetroit.
And I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.